Ari Wasserman, the big name in recruiting right now. I mean, we just finished one recruiting cycle. We're about to start another, or the other that we'll be talking about more often is well underway. Arch Manning. Arch Manning's the name that everybody knows. Everybody is waiting with bated breath to see which direction he goes. I've heard about 1,000 different schools that might be interested. Lately, it's been a smaller handful. Let me start with a really dumb, potentially obvious question. We know he's a Manning. Is he really worth all the hype?
So that's a kind of a difficult question for me to answer because it just, there's no way to separate the hype from his name.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's impossible. So what I'll say to answer that is that he is a 5-star quarterback. Like if his last name was Wasserman, he would be a 5-star quarterback. Now, would he be the number one overall player? Would he be gaining as much attention as he is right now? Probably not, because I think that there is a certain mythical thing about him and having 2 Hall of Fame uncles in his family and his last name that just exudes greatness. And the thing that I think about Arch Manning more than anything is that if you look at the schools that are pursuing him outside of Ole Miss, I mean, everyone's pursuing him, but the ones that he seems to be giving the most attention in return to, all have signed 5-star quarterbacks in the recent past. I mean, even Texas just got Quinn Ewers last year. So it's not like he is a commodity for these schools that is irreplaceable. What I think that he is, from my viewpoint, is almost a symbolic figure in the sense of if your school is able to get this person who doesn't speak to the media, who doesn't tweet, who has advisors on his side like Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, it proves to the world that your program is the most fitting for a person of his stature, which I think matters to people. So the thing that recruiting has gotten to the point that it is because people like competing when there are no games. And it's like, what recruit could ever match the magnitude of what that commitment would mean? So if he goes to Georgia, you know, a team that has Brock Vandagriff on the roster already, it's not like Georgia is in, well, maybe, you know how my take is on walk-on quarterbacks who just won the national championship. But, you know, in order to sustain that level of success, at some point, they're going to have an NFL quarterback playing there. Do they absolutely need Arch Manning? No. Does Alabama absolutely need Arch Manning when they've got the best player in college football right now playing the quarterback position? No. All these teams won't cease to exist. But if he goes to Georgia or Texas or Alabama, what it means for that program as a destination for other players to go to, it's kind of like picking royalty. So that to me is the hype more so than his ability, because when you look at quarterbacks in this day and age, and my colleague Antonio Morales wrote a really good story about this, the amount of money people are spending, high school parents, on quarterback coaches and weightlifting regimen and diet, and basically making these soldiers of players out of their teenagers in order to get a scholarship. I mean, a lot of times it's actually kind of funny to me because financially they're paying more than the education and training than it is to just, you know, do it the right way or the wrong. There's no right or wrong way, but I'm saying the amount of money people are sinking in outweighs how much they would just pay to send their kid to school. But the quarterbacks in general, and I've been to the Elite 11, I'm going this year, I went last year, those guys on that field are all very, very, very good, and a lot of times very indistinguishable from one another. And I think whether or not that they are successful in college is based on a lot of other things, not just pure talent, but fit, attitude, intangibles, all the things that, you know, coaches like to say on the podium. So is he worth the hype? I don't know if it's an easy thing to answer, because I think from a talent standpoint, he's worth the hype because he's really good. But I think that the hype in this case is more valuable as it pertains to the symbolic nature of landing him than it is for what he's actually going to add athletically to a program.
I have not heard that take before, Ari. That is maybe I'm kind of just getting caught up with the 2023 cycle on the fly here, but it's definitely an interesting perspective because so much of the recruiting game, as you would know better than Dan and I, is about reputation. It is about what are we selling? What is the marketing pitch for this program? Obviously, putting guys in the NFL is one thing, but having that sort of mystique, having that aura around the program that you can attract the best.
What does that say about your school if you get Arch Manning to future quarterbacks? I think the value of that is probably more important than him winning games. And I think that sometimes, like, I am a little bit more on the recruiting symbolism of everything, and what it means for program rankings and stature. But, I don't doubt that Arch Manning is going to be a very good college football player. But I also don't doubt that Dante Moore is going to be a very good college football player. And I don't know if the difference between those two athletically is as stark as their reputations, because everybody's heard of Arch Manning. Maybe Notre Dame fans and other fans in the Midwest and recruiting nuts know who Dante Moore is, but everybody knows who Arch Manning is. So, and it's like funny because last year at the Elite 11, I wrote a story because Quinn Ewers was at the time the highest rated prospect of all time. Right. And you put him on the field with a bunch of other 5-star quarterbacks who are doing the same drills and doing all the, same workouts. And there isn't some intangible gap between Quinn Ewers' talent and everybody else on that field. So I think when you start getting to the most elite players at that position, they're very closely, capable. So is Arch Manning standing above the rest of the quarterbacks and doing something that those guys can't do? I don't think so. But I think that his background, his understanding of the lifestyle, what it takes, all the things that you get from being in that family, was probably going to give him a leg up on understanding what you have to put in. But I don't know that I would sit here and say with a straight face that Arch Manning is the greatest prospect I've ever seen in my entire life, because I just got done watching Quinn Ewers throw a football that hummed in the air, 6 months ago. And who's to say who's better? And, a lot of times that's why people say recruiting is an inexact science. And to a certain extent, that's kind of the reason for it.